Good evening from our KHOU 11 studios. I'm Zack Tawatari, and you, Texans fans, just watched a heartbreaking loss. The Texans losing 26-23 to the Detroit Lions. This game, hard to put into words. Sloppy a lot of the time, a lot of interceptions. It seemed like neither offense wanted to hold on to the ball, but I want to know what you think tonight. I want to hear from you guys and hear what you think of this loss and how the Texans performed against what was the NFC North leading Lions, still is now, even a game better. They improved to 8-1. The Texans fall to 6-4. And a reminder that if you're looking for Sports Extra, it is on KHOU 11 right now, broadcast side on TV with Jason Bristol and Seth Payne breaking the game down. We are awaiting DeMeco Ryans and Stroud to come to the podium at NRG Stadium. This Sunday night loss, man, hard to put into words, really. Like I said, the Texans really had control of this game for the entirety of it, all the way until about the fourth quarter, when the Lions offense seemed to start to wear them down, and the Texans just were not able to get the key stops when they needed it. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, first down, ended up setting up that game-winning field goal from Jake Bates, who coincidentally went to Tomball High School. Again, looking for those comments from the Texans fans tonight. I want to hear what you guys think. We've got one so far from Tom. He says our coaches aren't making good halftime adjustments. Tom, I'd have to agree with you. I also would have to say that the Texans needed to get a bigger lead earlier in the game. They needed to capitalize on those Jared Goff mistakes. I mean, the statistics tonight for Jared Goff are just unbelievable. I want to pull up exactly what he did. 15 of 30, 240 yards, and he had 5 interceptions. 5. And the Texans still only managed to score 23 points on offense. And again, they lose 26-23 on that field goal with 4 seconds left in the game, which ended it. There were 4 interceptions in the third quarter between the two teams. That gives you an idea of just how much neither really of these offenses was capitalizing on the other's mistakes, but the Texans had the Lions dead in the rights, and they were unable to finish this game. This is something that we've seen from the Texans this season. Okay, it's been something that's been happening all season. This didn't start tonight. This certainly is not the first game that this has happened. In probably the first 6 games, the Texans really had their chances to go and win outright, go and win big. The only game they really won big in that span against New England, which is not a good team. And they were able to score, I believe, 40 points in that game, but they haven't sniffed that many points in the other games that they've played so far this season. Getting back to your comments, have to score TDs, not field goals. Could not agree with you more, Tom. Again, in that first half especially, that's what was going on. You know, the Texans were getting stops, whether it be by interceptions. Their defense was playing lights out. They were getting pressure on Jared Goff all day. But again, they kept coming up short in the red zone. You saw on the broadcast, Joe Mixon really, really frustrated on the sidelines. I can only imagine that it had to do with the fact that the Texans could not capitalize on those mistakes. Sam saying so many chances to score touchdowns, and the Texans fell asleep in every single one of them. That's absolutely right. I think they only capitalized on 1 interception that they were able to turn around and score a touchdown on. The rest of them, field goals, and as you guys are mentioning, those coming back later in the game and haunting them. The fact that they needed a field goal to win this game where Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions is crazy, quite frankly. Kaimi Fairbairn should not have been a factor later in this game. This game should have been put away in the third quarter when the Texans had the chance. Danny calling this loss embarrassing. And that reminds me, Danny, a good word. Of course, we're going to be doing our one word to describe this Texans loss. So if you guys have a word in mind, please keep it PG for our comments. But if you have a word that describes this Texans loss, I can only imagine how the Texans fans are feeling tonight. So much buildup going into this game. The Texans were going to be able to turn things around. Here's an interesting stat. The Texans had been a very good bounce-back team over the last 2 years. They'd won 8 straight games after a loss. Of course, they lost last week to the Jets. Obviously, this was their toughest opponent probably in all the games that they had to play to get those 8 wins after losses. But the Lions didn't play like the Lions. They didn't play like a division-leading team. They played sloppy. They had explosive plays that the Texans allowed, especially later in the game. Gibbs especially running all over the Texans later in the game. I can only imagine that the defense was probably tired. There were a lot of Texans 3-and-outs, 4 or 5 plays and out on drives in that second half. So I can only imagine that the Texans defense was tired, which isn't an excuse, but it is to say that the offense did not put them in a good position, again, because they failed to capitalize on these Lions' mistakes. Getting back to your comments, Stroud didn't do anything after the second half. That's coming from Guzman. CJ really struggled. Those couple picks were not very CJ-like. On the one to open the third quarter, it looked like he just didn't see the cornerback there who jumped the route. And then the next one, again, a chance to score. That ball close to the end zone that he threw to Tank Dell, in the end zone. It ended up being picked off. And it kind of looked like he just floated it a little bit. You would have liked to have seen him throw it to the back of the end zone so that if it wasn't completed, it wasn't going to do them harm. But that really, really put a halt on the momentum they were building at that point. Guzman also saying, always trying to win by 3 points ain't going to be it. Yeah, I couldn't agree. To win in the NFL, you really need to score close to 30 points. The Texans have not done that. They've been in this 20 to 23 range, 20 to 26 range quite often, and you are always going to have close games if you are not scoring more points. Of course, Nico Collins still out. I know that probably frustrating for fans too, although he was activated yesterday. He ended up not playing today. Friday was really the first day he practiced this week, and Friday being a walkthrough day, it was kind of unlikely that he was going to be able to be out there today on Sunday. Frustrating, another word from Tom. Yeah, couldn't agree with you. It's frustrating to watch, very frustrating to watch, frustrating to see this team not able to capitalize on the Lions' mistakes. I think when you saw Jared Goff, how off he was in that first half, you thought the Texans could run away with this game, and they absolutely could have, and that's really what they failed to do. They let the Lions continue to have life, and the Lions responded by being a good team and by finding ways to win. They had no business winning that game, but they did. From Mao, for me, the Texans season is over because they can't block for Joe Mixon and run the ball every week is the same problem. Yes, I agree. The pass protection was better in the beginning of the game. We saw CJ Stroud get sacked twice, I believe, tonight. Certainly a lot better than the 8 sacks last week. But, Mao, you're right. Not creating many running lanes for Joe Mixon, and maybe that is another thing that was contributing to that frustration we saw for him on the sideline. But I will say this, and to your comment, it is the same problem every week. Joe Mixon is creating all those yards for the most part for himself in those games where he's had 100-plus rushing yards, which he's done pretty frequently this season when he's been able to play. He had that stretch where he was out with the injury. But yeah, it's tough to watch when you know you have so much talent and it seems like they're not able to make the most of it or even get a lot out of their really good talent. Communication lacking, that's what Rico says. Maybe so. I often question Bobby Slowick's play calling when this team gets some momentum, because if you'll remember, they called that kind of end around to Tank Dell. This is a weekly occurrence, okay? When the Texans start to get momentum, it seems like Bobby Slowick calls a play out of nowhere that, again, stops them dead in the rights. Momentum is so important for these offenses. You saw what Detroit was able to do tonight on the few occasions that they were able to get some momentum, whether that was these little screens to Gibbs, or even these running plays to Gibbs that sort of put the defense on their heels. But when you get stopped like that and you stall your momentum, that's what hurts your offense, not just from a physical perspective, but from a mental perspective. So yes, Rico, I agree. Seth, still would rather be the Texans than the Cowboys right now. That's one positive, right? Right? I'm talking to our producer, Lupita. That's one positive, right? Okay, yeah. She says H-Town. H is up, yes. It's Detroit's time. Good game, Texans. I can only imagine that is from a Lions fan. Audrey, thank you for writing in. I will say this. Good teams find ways to win. This game is going to go a long way for the Lions. It's going to go a long way in their season, in their overall outlook, to know that they could win a game like this, that they had absolutely no business winning, when their quarterback threw 5 interceptions. He's the first quarterback to throw 5 picks in a primetime game since Drew Brees in 2012. And to your point, Audrey, here's another fun fact. The Lions are the first team since 1970, 54 years, if I'm doing my math correct, down 15 or more, with their quarterback throwing 5 or more interceptions, and they still won the game. That's how rarely it happens, which is to say that if you're the Texans, it shouldn't happen, okay? Maria asking, who won tonight? The Texans did not win tonight, Maria. I'm sorry to say. Again, they fell 26-23 to the Lions on a last-second field goal by a Tomball native. Sharky, I think we are done. Texans always choking. It's hard to argue with that idea right now, because we've seen so many instances where the Texans kind of repeat these patterns. Starting out hot, letting other teams back in, not being able to close out games, stalling their own momentum, and not capitalizing on other teams' mistakes. 5 picks is great. It means that the other offense did not score in those 5 instances, sure. But what do they really have to show for it? Again, I think there's only 1 touchdown that was scored after a Lions interception. That interception to end the first half also really doesn't mean anything, because Jared Goff was just throwing that up as a Hail Mary to end the first half. You got to come away with points, right, in this league, and you got to come away with 7, not 3, back to Tom's point. Tom also saying way too many tackles for loss. Yes, I also agree with that. And I think a lot of that does have to do, back to Mao's point, with the offensive line not being able to create lanes for those running backs. You can live with the fact that CJ got sacked twice tonight. That doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that he got sacked. It doesn't bother me that, some of their play calling wasn't great. But what's more bothersome is that this isn't something we saw just this week. This happens week in and week out with this team. And it's going to be a tough week for Bobby Slowick. It's going to be a real tough week for Bobby Slowick. When it's so blatant that it is your unit that is struggling because the Texans offense did not play well tonight. They haven't played well for about a month. And even when they played well before that, it really was in spurts. And I think people would agree with me. This offense was streaky, which is fine when they were winning games. But then you see when they're not winning games what that can look like, because it suddenly goes from being a strength to now being a weakness. And there is not that consistency. The defense absolutely came out to play today. They were playing like a championship level defense. They came out hot. But again, your offense can't capitalize. Let's see. Let's get back to some of your comments here. Seth asking, how does the rest of the Texans' schedule look? I know they've got Kansas City at some point. Yeah, their schedule, Seth, is actually pretty soft, especially when you look over the next couple weeks. They've got the Cowboys coming up, the Titans coming up, the Jaguars coming up, and then the Dolphins. Who knows what's going to be the situation with Tua at that point. The Dolphins right now are 2-6. Before the season, we would have circled that game on the calendar and said that's going to be a big game. But really, every game is going to be a big game for them from now on, because when you reach that 4-loss mark, this is not even about the AFC South. This is about, if this team really wants to be a championship level team, they are, yes, going to need to win their division. But then on top of that, when you look at where those teams that end up getting buys in the playoffs in the first round, they typically are around that 3 or 4 loss mark. And we see DeMeco Ryans coming to the podium right now at Energy Stadium, so we're going to send you over there.
You guys aren't able to score a touchdown.
Yeah, second half was not good enough for us. We didn't play winning football. We stalled on a lot of drives. Again, didn't score any points in the second half. So, you know, to beat a good football team like that, we have to be able to sustain drives. We have to be able to score points.
No, it's my phone.
And we were going backwards way too much. We have to be able to sustain drives. We have to be able to score points.
No, it's my phone.
And we were going backwards way too much. We have to be able to sustain drives.
Do you feel like that type of approach has kind of put you guys down, that you got kind of squeaking by, and now teams have been able to make comebacks and been able to surge and take up? Do you feel like that approach is kind of backfired towards being able to put teams away?
And the approach each week is to go win the game, no matter how it looks. You know, we don't set out to win an ugly game, but in this league, every game comes down to, you call that final possession. So you have to find a way to gut those out and win. We haven't been on the winning side, you know, of those games, as, you know, Green Bay, New York, and now Detroit. So we didn't make the plays to win the game. Like, however you win, you got to find a way. And to win games, you got to have guys have to step up and make plays, and that's not happening.
The slow starts to the second half have been a theme. Why do you think you all aren't having success in the second half of games?
Yeah, we have to look at it. Second half, of course, we understand we haven't moved the ball. We haven't scored points in the second half. Defensively, done some things that are uncharacteristic in the second half. So we just have to find a way to play a complete game. That's what we have to find out.
Coach, it looked like CJ was off in the second half. He started out, he threw an interception, and then, you know, they played. He threw another interception in the red zone. What was it about his second half rhythm that didn't match the first half rhythm?
It's not good enough turning the football over there, especially in red zone or coming out. You know, we talk about getting started in the second half, and we talked about being better in the second half, but to come out and turn the ball over the first play of the second half and to get in the red zone where we have points and to turn the ball over, that's not winning football.
You guys faced a lot of third and longs, especially in that second half. What do you think are the biggest factors to that, and how do you think you can alleviate those issues?
Hey, we have to win first and second down, right? Too many negative plays on first and second down. We didn't run the ball well, only, 56 yards rushing the football. So, you know, we didn't control the line of scrimmage when it came to running the football, which is what we've been doing a good job of. So when you don't play well on first and second down, you find yourself in third and long, and it's hard to continuously win 3rd and long.
DeMeco, you talked about some things you guys could have done defensively in the second half, but you guys had 5 interceptions and weren't really able to turn that into more points. What do you say about a second half where you just get shut out? How do you address that?
Yeah, I'm proud of the defense for guys going out and getting 5 turnovers. I think that's a big day for any defense. But the thing about turnovers is, what are you doing with those turnovers? And it's getting the points off of the turnovers. That's how you swing the game. And I don't think we got enough points off of the turnovers. But proud of the guys for that's a really good offense, and our guys played well. As down the stretch there, we just let some plays out that that we have to play better.
How frustrating can it be to get all those interceptions against a really, really good, high-potent offense and not be able to get the W?
Yeah, it's frustrating, of course, right, to play against that offense, high-powered offense, and to be able to take the football away. That's what we hang our hat on, is taking the football. So, we took the ball away, but it's about team football, right? And we didn't play complementary football today, and that's what wins games, when you play complementary football, and it didn't work out for us today.
Coach, I know that it's already week 10, and I'm not asking you, are you going to make any shakeups as far as offensive play calling is concerned, but what can be done to improve the play calling in the second half?
Yeah, we have to look at everything, Sarge. Look at all the play calling, what we're doing, what we're asking our guys to do, and make sure we're putting them in a good spot to execute. And guys have to take ownership and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do.
You did make some shakeups on the offensive line. How did you feel like that group played, and do you feel like there's another need for shakeups?
Yeah, I think our guys protected well. We had Patterson in at center, moved Juice over the guard. The communication was well up front. Thought the guys protected well enough for us to make some plays. So I think the move was good there.
We'll take these last 2, Cody.
Did it feel like because the offense had some issues and maybe there was a quick turnaround for the defense that things kind of started to pile up positively for the Lions on offense, and maybe the defense got a little gas there?
No, we didn't get gassed. I just think, they got some runs on us when we didn't set the edge. We weren't triggering fast enough at the second level. We just we stalled a little bit there defensively. I think it was nothing, about being tired or anything. It's just us consistently executing, and that's what, I believe in, just out-executing our opponent. And, when things got tight there at the end or in the second half, just like we didn't execute. We had multiple opportunities, right, to get off the field, but we didn't make those plays.
DeMeco, I know you mentioned about guys stepping up. I know it wasn't enough tonight, but what did you see from John Mechie, and how did he help this offense tonight?
Yeah, really proud of Mechie. He stepped up big for us, got his first touchdown, so it's really, really big plays that he made for us. So, really love the play where he was blocking downfield. He played a really good game, and excited to see him continue to improve off of what he did tonight.
Thanks,
All right, thank you guys.
DeMeco Ryans finishing up there at NRG Center, understandably, seemingly a little down after that, again, 26-23 final second loss for the Texans. Tonight they fall to 6-4 on the season. The Lions improved to 8-1. We just talked about the schedule. Here's a couple of things that stood out to me from what DeMeco said, and please let me know what you guys think of what DeMeco said post-game. He was asked about the play calling. Yes, this is something that we've been talking about for weeks. Again, goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Stalling momentum. Last week, the flea flicker to CJ in the end zone from Joe Mixon. I don't get it. I really don't. I don't get it. I don't understand why, when you're rolling, decide to make these decisions to call plays that seemingly come out of nowhere. And it's not a matter of being surprising. I mean, maybe that's the intent, but they aren't. These plays continue to get sniffed out, and it's also putting your team in positions that they're not used to. I mean, having C.J. Stroud try to catch a pass, a back shoulder fade in the corner of the end zone? I don't get it. I just don't get it. All right, let's get back to some of your questions. Also, I want to say DeMeco saying they needed to be better on first and second down. That's absolutely right. Leaving themselves too many third and longs. And it looks like we have CJ at the podium now. We'll get right back to this conversation after we hear from him.
Opportunity to play on Sunday night against a good team like the Lions, but it's not easy to be on third and long a lot, but I mean, clearly you just got to be better on first, second down.
Can you kind of take us through what happened on that first throw of the third quarter where he threw the interception?
Yeah, I just didn't see the coverage. He did a good job. I had to cover 2 and just left it inside. Can't do that. Made a good play on the ball, so yeah, it's my fault.
CJ, it seems like you guys continue to have some issues in the second half, moving the ball, scoring. Can you put your finger on what the issue is?
It seems like it's different every week. I feel like this game was on me. Definitely got to make plays, got to make throws. Can't turn the ball over and when we're in scoring position. So, yeah, I blame this on me. I got to be better in those moments. So, yeah, it's really just you got to go down and score in the red zone. And our defense is getting the turnovers like they were. So, you got to be able to, reward them with points. And that's something we didn't do. So, I feel like I'm the one to blame when it comes to that. Turn the ball over in the red zone. So, yeah.
Last one for me, I promise. You talked a lot this week about trying to lift the spirit of the group, have fun with the group. How difficult is it when the game is slipping away, and how do you think your sidelining group handled that, so to speak?
It's all about what happens in between the lines. That's what fuels energy. So when you're not executing, no one's going to be smiling ear to ear. So the more you execute, the more it's fun. And, that's something I think the more we execute, we can get, have more fun.
I'm not sure if someone's already asked you this. I just got in here, but seeing how well the defense played, being able to force all the turnovers, how frustrating you kind of lost like this season.
Very. Yeah, it's not easy. Definitely should have won this game, so it's not easy.
CJ, what did you make of the game plan, what you guys put together on offense, and kind of some of the issues you had in the second half, and maybe some of the timing of some of the play calls and things like that with the game plan?
Thought it was good. At the end of the day, got to execute plays, and that's my job to lead the offense to score points, and I didn't do that today. So we're not gonna point fingers or I point at myself, and then 2, we got to just move on from this and still understand we just took one of the best the best NFL teams to the wire, but we really should have put them away after the first half. So it's really on the offense. You got to be better. I got to be better. So yeah.
We'll take 3 more. We're going to start Jonathan, Cole, and Sarge.
Sure, you probably didn't ask everything. I was not here. But I guess, what is the biggest thing that you feel like you want to take away from today's game?
Just make better throws when guys are wide open and don't turn the ball over on the first play of the second half. So, if you take those plays away and I tank a good ball on that one play, the game is flipped over. So, I got to be able to be better during those moments and, take it on the chin like I know how to, and, the sun will rise up tomorrow hopefully and, go play the Cowboys on Monday night and try to have a good game there. So, it's not a time to, feel bad for ourselves. It happened, we got to learn from it and move on.
Last 2, Cole, Sarge.
CJ, I'm not sure if you got asked this, but John Mechie finally getting in the end zone. Just overall thoughts on his performance and his ability to step on up in a big time moment there in the first half.
Yeah, he did really well. It was big time for us. Ran a lot of crisp routes. Caught the ball, got a lot of yak, got the touchdown. So, yeah, I'm super proud of him and super happy that, he's getting his opportunities and showing his worth.
CJ, I know that you take these types of losses very personal. How long does this sit with you before you're able to flush it out your system and move on to Dallas?
I'm not sure. I don't know. It's hard, to lose like that, especially when our defense plays so good and, we're just not scoring points at the end of the day. So, yeah, it's not easy. But, can't sit here and, keep our heads down. Got to keep our heads up and go back to work and get better. So, yeah, that'll be the plan.
How do you guys prevent this from kind of snowballing? I mean, you guys were in this position last year. Yes, you guys started 6-4, went on to the divisional round. You guys have been in a position like this before. How do you prevent losses like this from snowballing? You guys can get back on track.
Learn to dominate. Kind of what I said last week. We have the team to do it. We have the players. We have the scheme. Now it's just up to the players to do it and put it on the field. So, there's a lot of things were better today, and for me, I gotta look myself in the mirror and that's not winning football. So it is what it is. Got to learn from it. I believe that we still are a great team and can do a lot of special things, but we got to learn how to pull those type of games out. And it's, I think, the second time now we've lost that way. So if you hang your head down, you can look up and the season will be over and you didn't fix it. So, the only thing, we got to keep our heads up and get the problems fixed. Next.
I want to get through some of your comments before we finish up here, but I do want to point out one thing that CJ said, which is that, yes, they took a good team, a very good team, one of the best teams in the NFL, down to the wire, but they should have put that game away in the first half. Yes, they should have. And the Lions really did not play like one of the best teams in the NFL tonight, with the exception of the fact that they were able to come out and pull this game out in the end. Now, I want to get to all your comments before we wrap up here. Patricia saying, I'm not giving up on my Texans, just need to put a better effort on the plays. This is still a very good team. This is still a very dangerous team, but they need to be able to put it together. It's been 10 weeks, and they have not done it for one complete game, with the exception of the game against New England. Mandel says, same speech every time. Hard to argue with you on that one. Dwayne, he likes to celebrate way too early along with the team. I believe that was speaking about DeMeco, as was, I believe, the same speech every time comment. Well, for whatever reason, the Texans didn't keep their foot on the gas. So, they didn't get the job done in the end because they didn't put this game away. Tom, Texans still a young team. DeMeco still a good coach. I think he's frustrated with Slowick. Team still needs to learn how to win. Couldn't agree with you more, Tom. A lot of great talent, but this team still does need to figure out how to put games away. Warren, we need a coach like they were, who we thought they were. Playoffs, those kinds of coaches. I believe he's referring to the famous Herm Edwards quote in a press conference after a game. Certainly that kind of attitude could definitely help. We have Dwayne saying, we've got Dwayne, the coach and team are too young and can't finish the job. They're playing like a young team. It's hard to argue with that. They do have a lot of young players. There's no question about that. I do still believe that C.J. Stroud is one of the most elite quarterbacks in the NFL. I think we're seeing a little bit of a spillover from him not having time to now going to this week to having a little bit more time. I do still think he's one of the most elite quarterbacks in the NFL. I think DeMeco Ryans is an exceptional head coach, but I think that they have not found that cohesion as of yet. All right, guys, we are going to have to wrap this up. I truly appreciate all of your comments. I want to leave you with my one word, and Lupita, our producer, I want to leave you with her one word. My one word right there at the top, gutted. That's the kind of loss this was. It was a gutting loss for the team that did not come out on top, especially because the Lions didn't have any business winning that game, and the Texans really end up giving it up. Lupita says fair word for Texans fans. She's a Texans fan. She's got her CJ Stroud shirt on. And that last quote I had was CJ saying not scoring any points, because really that is what summed up this 26-23 loss in Week 10 for the Texans. They again fall to 6-4. Next week, they've got the Cowboys in a Monday night game. I know Texans fans are excited about that game, but it's going to be a long week. It's going to be a long, long week getting over this loss. And the Texans are going to need to figure some things out. They are going to need to learn how to finish games. Thank you all so much for staying up with us after this Sunday night game. Again, the Texans lose 26-23. They fall to 6-4. We'll all be here next week, and we will all be talking Texans-Cowboys as the Texans try to right the ship, stay atop the AFC South, and hopefully continue to get back to being one of the prominent teams in the NFL. We'll see you next week.